European media report that Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered the house arrest of two senior Federal Security Service officers. Colonel General Sergei Beseda, chief of the FSB's Fifth Service, reportedly was detained along with his deputy, Anatoly Balyuk, charged with providing flawed intelligence about Ukraine and their improper use of operational funds. Separately, Alexei Danilov, Ukraine's National Security Council chief, claimed that several Russian generals have been fired. The implications portend more suffering yet to come, but likewise opportunities to increase pressure on the Russian leader from within. Perhaps emulating Joseph Stalin, this could be the onset of a purge in Putin's desperate ploy to provide his domestic audience with a fall guy for self-inflicted wounds. His call to rid Russia of scum and traitors as a necessary self-purification of society might be Putin's theatrical unveiling of not merely a further crackdown against the Russian people, but also his version of a cultural revolution to bring further to heal those around him on whom he has counted to take and maintain power. If I were one of the oligarchs or Siloviki, those from Russia's intelligence services who profiteered on Putin's kleptocracy, I'd be more than just a little worried. Putin's rhetoric is victimization, villains and heroes. He casts himself as the people's champion. Putin chose the FSB, a machine organized and conditioned to execute his autocratic vision and tell him what he wants to hear, whether or not it conforms with reality. Putin has relied on the FSB as his principal source of power and protection, not merely at home, but also across the former Soviet states over which he is determined to restore Russia's dominion. His reorganization of the FSB from the KGB's ashes should have told us precisely the direction he planned to take. Although the CIA's natural official counterpart is Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, the SVR, it was the Kremlin's internal security agency, the FSB, that ran the show across the former Soviet states. Putin, while FSB director in the 1990s, structured it as such, providing what had been the KGB's former counterintelligence directorate with a disproportionately larger share of its parent organization's power and influence. The KGB's Foreign Intelligence Directorate would become the less muscular SVR. The Fifth Service, or Operational Information Department, was established as a new FSB branch to collect intelligence on the former Soviet states and conduct active measures to assure they continued to gravitate around Moscow's orbit. That meant everything from propping up pro-Kremlin regimes to neutralizing threats from those aiming to move their countries closer to the West. From 1999 to 2009, the Fifth Service grew and took charge of Russia's brutal war in Chechnya, where the FSB, not the army, called the shots. It was the Moscow apartment building bombings in September 1999, which killed 300 and wounded more than 1,000, that then Prime Minister Putin used to justify that war, claiming the attacks were undertaken by Chechen militants. The bombings, as it turned out, allegedly were the FSB's handiwork under Putin's direction. Putin does not trust the army, a sentiment likely validated by its poor performance and his natural KGB-era disposition. The KGB spied on Russia's armed forces to purge them of reactionary elements, often the country's best and most faithful officers. Putin's FSB is modeled after Stalin's Chekists, the secret police, his most trusted means to reconstitute a Soviet-era structure that keeps the public's civil liberties and those possessing any power within his tent well in check. Whatever value Putin might believe exists in casting aside his most important supporters has no upside for him, but possibly does for us. Colonel General Beseda, the reportedly detained Fifth Service chief, had been in his job for years and was the driver behind Putin's strategy. He literally knows where the bodies are buried. That Beseda's reporting and counsel likely was spun to align with Putin's own warped view of the world and misguided expectations for the invasion of Ukraine is a product of the Russian leader's own making. In such a system, who's going to tell Putin anything different? But having done Putin's dirty work and placated his demand for absolute obedience, only to be thrown to the wolves, Beseda's removal will reverberate throughout the Kremlin, even if Putin leaves in place his FSB boss, Alexander Bortnikov. Unlike Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and SVR Director Sergei Naryshkin, Bortnikov might enjoy greater protection as a career officer rather than a professional politician. Bortnikov's elimination could pose too great a risk, given his network and command over the safety net on whose survival Putin depends. Putin's desperation does not bode well for whatever guardrails we would hope to constrain him. A purge undermines Putin's image of infallibility and strength and could precipitate threats from those who see his desperation as an exploitable vulnerability or an incentive to act before they're next. As he chances antagonizing the hammer and shield with which he maintains power, the FSB, and mistrusting the army's ability to win his war abroad, the dynamic could draw him inward, forcing reconsideration of his Ukrainian campaign. Facilitating this dynamic with continued external pressure and perhaps internal meddling is not without risk, but it may be the best means with which to force Putin to pay a dear price for his actions. A purge of scapegoats among those he has enriched, coming as Russia's economy collapses, could boomerang and create a Byzantine backdrop of palace plotting that compels him to compromise or causes his fall. But insular and paranoid as Putin's decisions seem to suggest he has become, a darker alternative is his choosing to go down with the ship and possibly taking us with him. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.